What is going on, guys? We are here. You guys have been waiting. Been wanting to do this for a while. But we are talking. This is our Sons of Anarchy discussion, and I'm here with my crew. I'm here with the lovely Taylor,
Hi.
and I'm here with the lovely Sandra.
Hello, guys.
Well, we got the big three back in here. So, any questions? Anything? This is all fun. This is all Sons of Anarchy talk. We could throw a little Mayans in there because they are part of this universe. So let's, man, we're just gonna be just answering questions, just talking about characters, seasons, episodes, all that good stuff. And before I did promise that I'd be cracking a beer early in the morning. It is 9 a.m. for me, so I got my Toast Man beverage, powder toast. So let's crack that baby. Breakfast of Champions. Now I don't know if you guys ever had this one, Sandra or Taylor, but this is a maple.
Oh wow.
Brown
Interesting.
ale, maple brown ale, vanilla, cinnamon, and
Throw
this
all
is,
the flavors in there. That's what they did.
I told breakfast. This is my excuse right here. So this I did a review on this, and this is Toastman, and Toastman is I don't know if you guys ever saw Ren and Stimpy back in the day.
Yeah.
Toastman is the one of the characters of the little skit.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, cheers. Yeah, still not too bad. So you know what's so funny, guys, is when I was setting everything up, I was waking up in the morning. When my kid was jumping all over me, I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, and then my mom has a mini fridge, so I go and grab like a drink or whatever. I go in there, she's passed out, and I was like, I thought I heard something, earlier. I was like, that sound is so familiar. She's asleep, and she runs. Her TV's just constantly running, right? And what does she have on her TV? This is when I knew this was an S.O.A day. She had Sons of Anarchy playing. She had
Nice.
Jax and Opie having a conversation. I'm like, because she loves Sons of Anarchy. We both got into it. So I was like, this is an S.O.A day for sure. So let's start off with this real quick. Like, who are your guys' favorite characters? I know it's Sandra's favorite
Yikes.
character.
Yeah.
Taylor, who's your favorite character of Sons of Anarchy?
Do they have to be surviving at the end, or
No, 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 no.
in the context of the entire show?
In general, yeah.
Okay. Um, I feel like I've changed my mind like several times over the years. I want to say Chibbs is still my favorite.
Chibbs is my favorite. Like, I love Chibbs. Sandra?
Since day one, I've been an Opie girl.
Yep.
Opie's so great. It's man, I just with Chibbs, it's so funny because when you rewatch the show, you tend to like characters a little bit more every time. Like I really like Jax as a protagonist. I really like him. He goes like downhill, like just madness wise towards the last of those couple of seasons. But Chibbs is just a cool headed. He is kind of like a father figure to Jax too, a little bit. His look. When I was watching the series, I always said like, man, I want this guy to be like a big part, like like the president. If I wanted a president, I wanted him, and that happened. I was kind of shocked that happened at the end of the series, but I love Chibbs, man. Chibbs is, and then I'm glad that he is. You did get a glimpse of him in Mayans, so I'm glad that he's still around.
Right.
I want to welcome everybody to Jermaine, Joe, Randy, Patrick Starr. Patrick Starr is getting a spin-off series, so
What?
yeah, I kid you not. Patrick Starr is getting a spin-off series. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and put down the questions. We're going to be answering questions. This is all about you guys too, and talking SOA. Jermaine says, my question is, did SAMCRO move back to TM, or are they still at the ice cream shop?
That's a good question because that has not been written as far as, I mean, there were so many things that were left open when we saw the final episode of Sons of Anarchy. So it's one of those things where we'll never know for sure. I could speculate that they probably, especially because they've been waiting around for a few years, and eventually once they show up and they start interacting with the Mayans down south, that I would have hoped, since they still had the gun business in that entire time, they probably would have started reconstruction on the Teller Morrow location where they had the clubhouse. I mean, that's what I would like to think happened.
I have a question for you guys. Actually, it's a big question. It's pretty much it's about like the aftermath of Sons of Anarchy and the whole 7 seasons. I'll start with you, Sandra. How are your feelings that the club is still in the gun business, even though Jax wanted to move away from that?
That's the $1 million question, because that's what his wish was, to get out of it. But if you get out of that, what's left really? And I know from my experience watching the whole show, I really thought that Jax starting to learn how he wanted a club to be, and the way that his father saw the club going, and he wanted to go that route. So he tried his best until the last day to make sure that they were getting out of everything that was going to cause them problem. And after the fact, then it was up to the remaining of the team. We know that this is with the little part in Mayans. We know that it's not really what's happening now, but I don't know. I don't even know.
What do you think, Taylor?
About them being in the gun business still by the time they get down to Mayans?
Yeah, and then of course, you had that little line where like
yeah. So their explanation was, sorry, this is just taking longer than we thought. And it's so I guess what at the time when Sutter was writing this, I guess his explanation was to try to not only explain why the show Mayans didn't come out of the gate already in the gun business, which is when I was getting ready to, I was covering the production of the first season going into the premiere. I was thinking they were going to be in the gun business based on what happened in the end of Sons of Anarchy. And to my surprise, they were just running drugs for the Galindo cartel. So I guess his way to explain that was, just saying that it took too long. And I also kind of believe strongly that he always intended on having cameo appearances, and he wanted a reason to have the Sons of Anarchy characters come back.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a gut punch because the sacrifice that Jax did, but it kind of I guess it makes kind of like you can't just boom, we're clean. You're a clean club. It's just. It doesn't happen. Realistically, it doesn't happen that fast. I guess the real question is it really going to come to fruition? Is Jack's wish really going to happen down the road? I don't think so. Honestly, I really don't think so.
It's reminiscent of his father too. I mean, you almost could have called it a long time ago watching the show. John Teller failed.
Yes.
In getting the club out. And Jax started going down that road. He even started writing his own manuscript that is, just like his father did, with his own hopes and dreams for the club. So it was one of those things that was destined to not work out.
Yeah. As much as Jax wanted to make things right, you're absolutely right. Like, it's just even it's just that's why I say that Jax is probably the most tragic character I've ever seen in a show or a movie, and that's why he's so compelling. It's just like you get, especially how he started off. He started off with that kind of ideology, and then where he ends, and he's trying to fix everything, but that's just not. It's just hard to do. It's just hard to especially now that you're gone, you yourself is gone, and you can't oversee things. Like you got to rely on, of course, his brothers, but just things change. Things change, and I just don't think it's gonna happen. Like that was kind of my idea, Taylor, where that spin-off of Abel and Thomas, where they would learn about everything and they'd come in, and one of the brothers, maybe realizing that their father's club is still doing, is still in this kind of business or something like that. I was hoping
Yeah.
that maybe a spin-off would come in the future, like something like that. So time will have to tell, but it's still kind of a little bit of a gut punch.
I also want to say real quick, and Sandra, you can let me know what you think about this as well. I had in the back of my mind an idea that perhaps writing the story within Mayans to have them lose the gun trade, because that's essentially what happens after everything goes south with the VM.
Yeah.
That Chibbs sat down with everybody to try to make the handoff as smooth as possible, because long story short, the only port of entry they were going to be able to bring these guns in from was going to be south of the border. They weren't going to be able to do it along the West Coast line anymore. And what ended up happening was, hey, the ones selling the guns just took their business elsewhere, because they were going to have to find somebody else who could get the guns into the U.S. If Sons of Anarchy couldn't do it, if Mayans couldn't do it, they were just going to go somewhere else. So I think having that whole gun selling story point off the table is going to be a bit better. I think that kind of business has run its course in general, even if you look at it in terms of the fictional universe and even like nowadays. I think that kind of it just doesn't seem to really work nowadays. Yeah. The idea of a club selling all these illegal guns.
I agree with you. I think that is set in stone, and we can move on to something else that it's no longer something to bring up and rehash again.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. Or I just want to know, since everybody here is a big fan of this, this show, it's just an absolute, you go back, you rewatch it, like it's one of those shows, it's like lightning in a bottle, right? What made you guys love this show so much? Like, what made you really like, how did you what was your first time like watching it? How did you see a trailer? Did you see a preview? Did you get told by somebody? Like, what made you guys want to watch the show and love it so much?
I'll let Sandra go first.
Well, I'm a late bloomer. I started watching after it was already done.
Yeah, I'm saying too.
So, and the thing is, because you have to remember, here in Canada, we don't have all the same channel as you guys. So I don't even think FX was available in Canada, and the whole streaming thing doesn't work through the US to Canada. Like, you guys have about 17 different platforms of streaming. We are lucky we have one, and it's called Netflix. So
yeah,
for me, when it was a friend of mine who suggested me, I was really into motorcycles, and I love bikes. I wish one day I can learn to ride one. And then my friend says, well, you should watch this show. You're going to enjoy it. And I went old fashioned, went to the store, buy the first season. I'm like, I'm not going to buy the whole thing. I'm buy one. If I don't like it, okay, it's only $20. And I sat down, I started watching it, and I got hooked right away. I didn't have a favorite character in the first couple of episodes, but then as I finally watched mid-season, that's when I got Opie, and that was done. That was it. But as soon as I sat down and watched that first season, I got hooked, and then I went to the store and I bought 2 to 7 right away on one. I didn't even say no. And then I did a real binge watching, like almost nonstop. And when it came to season 5, I actually had to break after the famous episode of Opie.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch it for literally a month and a half. I couldn't set myself to continue watching the show.
Wow.
And then I finally sat down, finished it, and I think it didn't even take me a month. I rewatched the whole thing again. That's how I was caught on it.
Very awesome. And so funny, it's crazy is that the streaming back in the day, there was really no streaming. You're right. Like, Netflix is like
getting into the first, years of its life, pretty much. Not everyone had it.
Yeah, it is absolutely not like how it is today. How it is today, it's insane. And then you have like extensions. Of course,
gosh, Netflix was just doing the DVDs rental. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, that's right. And then you had like GameFly or whatever. Like that is crazy.
Back in the day where the DVDs and
just
games came to your house and you had to mail them back.
And for me though, I always loved Hollywood Video and Blockbuster. I always loved to be there and just grab something. But man, you're right. Oh man, I remember when tape players were a thing. I don't know. So Taylor, how about you? How did this all happen for you?
So I got introduced to the show from somebody else, and it was already in between seasons, like it was in the off season in between airing a new season. So they had 3 seasons, the first 3, and I think season 4 was gonna air on TV in a few months, I think. And he was like, "You got to watch this show." So I was like, okay. I started watching season 1, and right away it was something completely different from anything else that was on TV. I mean, I was watching Dexter also. I was watching Tutors at the time as well. And it was one of those things that was just so different, and it being fiction I was like just kind of blown away at what was created. I never saw any show that was specifically on a motorcycle club, and not just that, but they were, in terms of the fictional universe, outlaws. And all of the side dealings, all the interactions with the cops, all the rotating door of villains. I really loved that. There was never the same bad guy all the time. Mm-hmm. You got like a season or a season and a half or 2 of one guy, and then you get a different guy to come in. And I was able to binge watch those 3 seasons. And the episode that really had me thinking, oh my God, I love the show, was the twist that they did on Agent Stahl, where Jax was looking like he was going to rat, and Gemma and everyone was scared that their club was going to kill him. And then it turns out they're all thrown in the back of the van, and they all knew about the plot to begin with, and they're all going off, and they have the last laugh, even though they're going to do a stint in prison for a while. I was like, I never saw something like that coming, ever. I was watching all the new seasons live week to week after that point.
Such a great twist and scene. That's definitely one of the most memorable things that happened in the show.
Certainly. And
shows have that. A lot of great shows have that great, just absolutely bananas kind of. That was a season finale too, I believe.
It was. At that point, I was like, I love this show.
Season finale right there. You know what? We're very similar and I'm very similar to both of you, because Sandra, I come into shows, these big shows that everybody talks about, late. I did that for Game of Thrones. I did that for Breaking Bad. I did that for Sons of Anarchy. For Breaking Bad, it was similar with Sons of Anarchy too, where they were on their last season, so people were talking about it, and for me, I'm just like, all right, you know what, I'll watch it. I'll watch one episode. I usually give 5 episodes before if it's good or not. And you're absolutely right, Taylor. It was something that I knew Ron Perlman from Things, so I really liked him as an actor. I liked a lot of the acting and the characters right away. I saw Chibbs in a couple stuff, and I was just like, this is so different than what I've ever watched. I don't know too much about motorcycles. I don't know too much about clubs, charters. And when I watched it, I was like, I knew about, I like documentaries, right? So I knew about Hell's Angels and all that kind of stuff. So when I got into this, what really got me hooked was just overall the performances, the characters, the world itself. You're just immersed in it, and then you just want to know everything about it. And so they were going on their last season. So I was like, I got to binge the whole thing to get to that season 7. And man, I just fell in love with it. It was just such a breath of fresh air, because it wasn't anything like Sons of Anarchy. And just the overall, it's just, like I said, lightning in a bottle. Everything worked for that show. The look of it, the casting, the direction, it's just everything was. And then I think, in my opinion, I really like the finale, the series finale. I know a lot of people are split, but I felt like that's a good season. That's a good series finale. I think that it wrapped up great. This is the type of show like a Breaking Bad where it absolutely delivered for me, and I can go back and rewatch it. It was good from beginning to middle to end. And there might be other shows like Narcos that I think are maybe a little bit better written or a little bit more tighter, but Sons of Anarchy is like one of my absolute. I love this show, and I can never, like, if I could sit down and watch 7 seasons of it, it's done its job. It's absolutely done its job. So hell yeah, like Sons of Anarchy is awesome, and that's why we just absolutely love it. And so I'm very similar to both of you guys, coming in late, but then enjoying the fresh breath of fresh air, so to speak. All right, let's get some questions here. J Matt, what do you guys think the chances are that Easy kills a known member of SAMCRO next season, like Happy, Chibbs, or Tig, etc. or EC?
Wow, that is a really good question.
Mm-hmm. Go for it, Taylor.
It would be a crazy episode, for one, because if it's a well-known member, I mean, sure, we all know who Montez was. Remember him from his time in the show.
But he's
Montez. Not Chibbs.
No,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's not, Bobby. He's not Tig. He's not Opie. So there wasn't that punch. There was the familiarity that was there, but there was no gut punch. If there was a showdown between Happy and Easy, especially considering everything that happened in the past, him discovering that Happy was the gunman who killed his mom on behalf of Galindo's mom, it would kind of be that pinnacle of all of those threads coming together. If something like that were to happen, it would be crazy. I think if something were to be done in that way, it would have to be nailed. There would be no way to mess that up. You're killing a character that everybody likes, that has a long history with the Sons of Anarchy. I think that's one of the problems I have with it, is just it would just really hurt, I think. So it would have to be done perfectly. The execution would have to be perfect. The scenes leading up to that point would have to be perfect. The motive for me in terms of writing would have to be completely justified. And that's pretty much what I have to say about that.
What do you think, Sandra?
Well, thinking about it, we know that Happy and Easy, they're good. They did what they have to do. They talked it out. Everything is fine. So they should be good between SAMCRO and Mayans. Now, whenever they find out about Montez, and if they actually find out the whole story about it, that is why I have a hard time, because we know it's not the Mayans who killed Montez. We know that. So how will you build the story with being easy to have a showdown with SAMCRO? That's where I cannot put myself on how this can happen. And in my opinion, I wouldn't want to see it. But that's
why I would never want to write this show, is because I would make everybody so mad.
I think it's just such a hard task. Like, you can't please everybody, right?
Right.
You just cannot, especially when you're very passionate about, Sons of Anarchy and the Mayans. You're absolutely right. Like, it has to be, like Elgin James says, it has to be organic, and it has to make sense. Sandra, here's the thing though. I do think that Angel and Easy still hold a grudge. Like, that dude killed their mom. Like, you could sometimes there's scenes and shots where they have a close up when Happy's in the scene, and they really have a close up with the brothers, especially with the tension that is now building with the Sons and Mayans. It would make sense for the one character. I mean, because the only character we've really seen in the Mayans is Montez and Happy, and then of course Chibbs and stuff. But they haven't gotten as much screen time as Happy has, which I'm happy they picked Happy. I'm happy they picked Happy to be that character that kind of crosses over to the Mayans, So I always thought in Sons of Anarchy, like, this guy is awesome. They use him in great doses. You know, he's not the lead character, but he's always like a present character. But I do like the way they're using him in Mayans. I guess it wouldn't. The only storyline I could see it going is the Reyes brothers and Happy, and if somebody's gonna get killed, it's gonna be Happy because of that. It's still I think a lingering issue to me how I feel about it. But yeah, it's a hard one. I'm just very curious to how, like, we talked about this, like, how are they going to lead into a lot of this conflict? And then yes, the Mayans didn't kill Montez, and the only way I could see, like, for the truth to come out is the same way as the truth came out with oh my god, I'm forgetting his name for Riz, is if Taza actually tells Bishop, like, yo, Montez is dead. He's in a barrel. Yeah, I didn't do that. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting coming up. So I like this one right here. So Jermaine says, I agree with Taylor, Chibbs, but the one person I dislike the most is Galen. So here's my question. I'm gonna put a little question to that too. Who was your guys' most hated character in Sons of Anarchy?
Oh
Taylor, go ahead.
I think my most hated character is probably, oh my gosh, I almost just want to say Gemma. I really do. It was a love-hate relationship because it was like, oh my god, you're the reason a lot of this stuff is happening, woman.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, she's the reason why Jax is dead.
She's the reason why Wayne is dead. She's the reason why she's dead.
She gave her own
Tara's
son a
dead.
death sentence, right?
Yeah.
For leading that path. I hate Gemma. She is the hands down. I hate her more than I hated Joffrey, and I hated Joffrey. She is the most hated character in my book. It's so funny because I love Katie Sagal. I think she's an amazing actress. I loved her in Futurama, Married with Children. I've seen her at Comic-Con. She's a sweetheart. But when she nails that character, like, I couldn't even picture anybody else nailing that character. I absolutely hated her. I couldn't believe she lasted 7 seasons, but I did enjoy the conflict between, like, Jax having to put her down. I mean, because she ended up putting him down technically, even though she got shot. I just hated everything. She's just conniving. I understand some of the. You got to remember, she did, like, get captured. She got raped. Like, she's had really bad stuff happen. Like, Clay beat her. But I did. And then you like some of the stuff, right? You liked her and Nero. You do understand the love she had for her grandbabies.
Yeah.
Her relationship with Jax. I actually did, before the beating started happening, I liked her and Clay. They really reminded me of, like, an old your old lady with your president kind of man. I love the chemistry was off the hook. I love the chemistry, but the things she did in this series were so unforgivable and so bad. And then, just now that I'm thinking about it, remember when who was it? Was it Abel? And she gives the ring to Abel.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
She's setting him him down a dark path. Like, why would you do that? Why would you, when you see the But I guess she just doesn't know. This is her life. This is the life she leads.
She really can't let it go. I think is where I see you taking this. There's this thing that she clings to and she cannot let it go.
If she had the choice, if she had the chance, she would be president. She would take that president spot if she could. Absolutely hated Gemma. That's my most hated character in this show. What about you, Sandra?
There is no if and buts about it. The one I hate the most is Clay.
Ooh.
I hated.
Woo-hoo. All right.
Hated him since day one. I couldn't stand him, and that's what really triggered me on hating him is when he put the hit to kill Opie.
Okay,
what?
yeah.
You're done. I was done with him on season 1. So I had to live until he was shot. And the day that they shot him, I was doing a happy dance in my living room.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
basically it.
You're hating on Hellboy? Hellboy?
Oh, yes. I couldn't.
You know, I actually really love Clay in this series. I think he's so. I think Ron Perlman freaking is awesome as like I think because he's another hate, right? It's not as much of hate as I think in Gemma, but for Sandra, because you know what he did, and what Tig did. Tig was so loyal to Clay. I sometimes hate Tig. If it wasn't for the later seasons, I would really hate Tig. But I see where you're coming from because he was just as conniving. He was power hungry, absolutely power hungry. But it did make for some good TV though, especially with the conflict with him and Jax, and then just with everybody else too. But I could see man, hate on Clay. I can see it, Sandra. I understand. I love Clay though. Patrick says, does S.O.A still have an Arizona charter? I know they have Washington and Nevada charters. They could come into play in Mayans, with Mayans having Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and Arizona charters. Do they have an Arizona charter? Do you know this, Taylor?
As far as like currently in the current running timeline with the Mayans, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, wasn't it the Arizona one that had all the heads in the bag, the duffel bag?
I can't remember. I can't even really remember a lot of the.
It's 7 seasons. Like I can try my best to remember, but I'm gonna miss something.
Some of those stuff you got to really look it up online and just like, okay, what's because the show like it either quickly presents it or it's kind of like in the background.
Thank you.
I don't know if you know, Sandra. Do you know anything?
No, I cannot remember. They were there, but I don't know at this point if they're still active or not.
We'll call that a wash then. Sorry, we can't. We got. We're just gonna have to like go on Google. Go on good old Google or Siri. Kevin says, "Why do you think it took so long for S.O.A to hand off the guns? What do you think? What do you think Happy meant when he said it's a lot at stake?" We talked a little bit about this.
So that was a season. It was 2 points. So was it season 2 or 1? I don't remember. Happy said something to Chucky about, like there being like a lot at stake or whatever.
Season 2.
And then you jump to the meeting with everybody at the Flying Serpent Lodge. And then that's when Chibbs explains that they're just having a hard time easing the transition because there's going to be no U.S. port. That they kind of explain that. They kind of explain that things on the coast are kind of closing in. Like COP presence is getting a little tighter. Naval presence is tighter. They do explain that a little bit. So the landscape is changing in their world, kind of in a way where you can see that all of these outlaw, points that they used to use are getting choked off. And we even see that in season 3 of Mayans when the border closes. You see that now they can't even get the drugs to and from the border. They're having a hard time. So things in their world are happening to them to kind of change their lives and change their stories and manipulate how things are playing out. And that's just one of the things that they decided to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you look back, if you go back to the Sons of Anarchy series too, you watch it. If you're going to continue the series, right? Think the world changes along with it. Like we're living in 2021, so like Mayans, what they said is they have drones now, because in present time we have drones, we have more measures to really go after these guys. So that's why when they use the old ways, they're it's kind of like a very low chance that it's going to succeed, but they have no choice to do it. So with I mean, yeah, with everything that's happening right now, it's not just the Mayans that are struggling. It's probably Sons. It's everybody. Everybody who's in this business, the cartel, like everything. It's you're absolutely right. Like things change as the series goes on. Do you have any thoughts on that, Sandra?
Yeah, and you know what? Like you said, things change and it's getting harder to get like everything going. And having like, because I'm just thinking about even just with the drugs, like you have the Galindo and then you have the Banquero who's going to be the new one to be being the king of the drugs and everything. Um, it is it is something that is getting harder because you are like technology and everything, you are being seen and viewed in ways that you would never think about. So it's no longer the same way as back in the day that you can hide stuff and nobody would know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the good thing about it is that the series is moving on into this time.
Yeah.
So everything is happening on this time. Like you had like the border shutting down, and it's reality. It's no longer like, okay, what if we're doing the fiction of what if that doesn't exist, and it is a good thing. Is fresh, and you are going on like, you know what, this is what's happening right now.
And I think Taylor, you said this before too, and I went back and I watched some clips, to refresh my memory of Sons of Anarchy. There's a lot of club meetings and there's a lot of voting,
Yes.
and that is one of the what Sandra says. A lot of these things should be like discussed in on the table, right? Like
Hmm.
how to either work things out or figure things out. And we see that a little bit of Mayans, but what I appreciate with Sons is they really like did it quite a bit because and then with the series,
Yeah.
some of those meetings really tipped the where the series was going was really major decisions voting wise
Yes.
too. So I would love to see Mayans really, like you said, Taylor, really dive into that more
Yeah.
on some of these situations can be presented at the table for
I
sure.
think what I really enjoyed that Sons of Anarchy did and that they're not doing as much in Mayans is you get to see every club member's point of view and perspective. And
Yeah.
when, for example, the club is voting on an issue at SAMCRO, you either get a firm yes or you get a no. I don't think this is the right move for us. And you get to see the dynamic that is every individual character. And on Mayans, that's one of the problems that we've all been having is the characters feel like cardboard cutouts sometimes.
Yeah.
They've been doing better, I'm gonna say. They've been doing better, especially with this newest season. But they really need to hit this hard. They're on to season 4 soon. And I mean, it's really kind of late to be really giving these characters personality and to be giving them
Ooh.
dimension,
Oh yeah.
for one. So having all of these meetings and all of the characters put their point of view out there as a real person really made those scenarios fun to watch, in my opinion, especially because you knew that what they were voting on was important, not only to the story, but to the entire MC.
Yeah, the Galindo deal that
That vote was a huge vote.
that Clay puts up, and then you see every member, and that's how you felt like every member had like just this that vote was a way. Yeah, Piney. I think Chibbs voted when he votes. His votes are like always right. I always go with Chibbs with his votes. Um,
And but I want to bring something up that you nailed it right on the head, Taylor. And that's one thing that I criticize on the season 3 and the last episodes is I thought one of the part of the episode that would have been really important for me to see and to bring up the whole table thing is the vote of Steve and the kick out of Coco.
yeah,
We know that they voted on, but they never showed the vote.
Thank
And
you.
for me, I would have loved to see that table and their reaction and not
Thank
just
you.
known on the behind the scene. Yeah, we voted. He's out. He's in. Let's go. I didn't like that. That was missed for me as a scene of the episode.
It was a writing mistake, in my opinion. I agree with you, Sandra.
Absolutely.
Oh, my package is here. I'll be back in like 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll hold it down, Taylor. We got you.
Yes.
We got this. So Sandra, like you're absolutely right, and I that was an issue for me too. It's like we didn't really see, you could, and just that little voting scene gives you a little bit more emotion with the characters because when Jax wants to leave, everybody, agree, they understand why Jax wants to go and they vote like, okay, yeah. And then it goes to your last, everybody shows emotion when they're saying yay because they know that's what Jackie Boy wants. And then they go to Chibbs at the end and he straight out goes, Jackie Boy, is this what you want? And he says, he doesn't want to do it, but he says, yay, do your thing, Clay wants it, of course, but like that, just that little thing of voting and showcasing individual characters and their emotion and just like, seeing this big decision and Jax's decision, like it all you see it, you feel it. That's how you feel more of the brother camaraderie where like you're absolutely right with Coco's voting, getting out, like that's a big deal. That's supposed to be one of your brothers, that you've been with for a very long time. And it just was never showcased. So a lot of the decisions in Mayans when it came to the table aspect and the voting were really a letdown, especially. Hopefully they get better. But I've noticed that in Sons of Anarchy, like there's a lot of those votes and there's a lot of that sitting on the table. And it's cool. The table's badass. Like, why not showcase the table, right?
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny because as much as we don't see any votes on Mayans, we saw plenty. We saw like when the famous vote that Tig said absolutely not to vote in, what was his name? Kenny Johnson's character. The one that they were fighting for the dog. What was his name in Sons of Anarchy?
Give me one moment. I'm gonna go right there. Kenny Johnson.
I'm drawing a
blank.
Oh,
Kenny Johnson. Now. Yeah, Kenny Johnson, the one that blew up.
Yes, the one that blew up. Well,
Herman. I liked Herman.
We saw the votes for him, but we don't see the vote for Steve and Coco. That's what I don't think it was done correctly. And I want, as much as I don't want Mayans to be a copy of SAMCRO or like Sons of Anarchy, actually, I would like to see more club and the way a club lives. And not just thank you everybody, Kozig. Yes.
Yeah. You know what's funny though too is your budget gets less because it's literally a scene at the table that just requires good cinematography, good lighting, and that's like one of the most compelling scenes because you have character interactions while you're doing this. So I don't understand why they don't do it. So Kenny Johnson, Kozak, Herman, I'm glad you brought him up because I actually really like this character and I thought like, damn, he died kind of early. I was hoping a little bit more out of him. But that's such a memorable death though. When he stepped on the mine and he blows up, Juiced. That was a little bit comical though, the body part falling on Juice, but, I like that character a lot. And, that's kind of crazy how they have like that, but they can't do that. It's Elgin James did take over though. So hopefully he learns and he kind of says, okay, well maybe we need more of this. He gets that feedback, sometimes, directors need to listen to, they don't necessarily, they have a vision. I get that, but sometimes there is critiques that you got to kind of take to heart and you got to just kind of like adjust in the next season. So hopefully he does that. I would love more voting scenes.
Yes, me too.
I like Randy's questions. Since the end of S.O.A, have any of the major actors done anything major in the TV or movies since then? That's a good question. Because why we love these characters is because of the actors and what they presented. Is there any shows that you're watching or movies that you've seen some of these actors?
Oh yes, I have. Of course, I have. Everything that has to do with Ryan Hurst. It's on my DVR. So
Big thing, Walking Dead when he was in The Walking Dead.
And
That's a
mind
big
you,
character.
he is a bad character, but I never watched Walking Dead, and I know that I tried to watch it once in the middle, and I was totally lost, so I didn't go there. But one of the shows that I loved him in, it was the Outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it was not picked up, but I loved him in that show. Kenny Johnson in SWAT, awesome
A
as
lot,
Lucas.
a lot of SOA
Yes,
actors and
and
actresses in SWAT.
if you want to have a mini reunion of SOA, unfortunately, it's only going to be one season, but Rebel with Katie Seagal, you have
Canceled.
plenty, yes,
Canceled. Mm-hmm.
but plenty of old SOA characters in there.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. I didn't think Rebel was gonna hit. Honestly, it didn't appeal to me. I love Katie Seagal, but I just didn't think that show was gonna go anywhere. Recently I saw Theo Rossi, and he's in a Lowrider movie, which I never saw, which I thought was like, what the hell? They made a Lowrider movie. But recently I saw him in Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. Uh, his character is awful. It is such a typical, you know, I'm a rape you kind of villain. It's so bad. I don't know why Zach is terrible. That there's no secret. I didn't think that movie was that great, honestly. But he's in that. He doesn't for what he's given. He doesn't do a bad job. He's a Juice. His most famous character is Juice, of course, Sons of Anarchy. But he's a good actor. I've seen him in a couple other stuff. We talked about Rebel. Ryan Hurst. He's Opie to most, but he'll always remember the Titans. Like I always remember it and remember the Titans.
Yes.
Love Remember the Titans. Somebody who I look closely on the career to is Charlie Hunnam.
Yes.
Charlie Hunnam, I think it's just some of the, I don't know who his agent is. He just hasn't had a blockbuster. But he's good. He's good in a lot of films. I liked him in Pacific Rim, the first one. I grew to like his character a little bit more. He's really good in The Gentleman with Guy Ritchie's film. Oh, he's perfect with Guy Ritchie knows how to bring a lot of these actors like together. Like I love Rock and Rolla. He did this one boxing movie. It's called Jungle Land.
I haven't watched that one yet.
I heard that was pretty good. Crimson Peak he was in a little bit. So
I loved him in Papillon. Papillon.
Papillon, yeah,
really
that was
good.
a good movie. I love that movie.
Oh,
and just to say, because you brought up Crimson Peak,
yeah,
he sounded just like Jax in Crimson Peak. I was like, wait a minute, is this old timey Jax Teller right here?
I love watching clips of him, and then like everybody's like he broke his accent right there because he's not English. Okay, he's he kind of is, but
it was interesting trying to. I mean, I thought it just added to the character, honestly.
I saw him in King Arthur, another Guy Ritchie film, and I thought the movie was bonkers. But I really like. I think Charlie Hunnam is I think he's a really good underrated actor. He's kind of like a Robert Pattinson to me. He just hasn't found the right role to really break out. Same with Toby Kebbell, I believe his name is. And then also, of course, Ron Perlman. He's had a hell of a career. A career.
Well, I was going to ask you, did you guys, because this is a Canadian series from a Canadian actor, but did you guys saw Bad Blood with Kim Coates?
I have
yes,
not.
I saw I think it was like season 1, or that was probably it. That's probably, and it's funny that you brought that up. I completely forgot, and this is what I do. If I'm like talking about Sons of Anarchy or Mayans MC, I start other shows and I forget about them.
That is a killer show. I suggest you guys to watch it. There is 2 seasons. It is an amazing show. For me, maybe somebody will not like it, but I was pushing him on that show since it came out in Canada before everybody else. But once it was out in Netflix, I was telling everybody, you have to watch that show.
I want to, the one actress where I was wondering, like, what has she done? I guess after Sons of Anarchy, I probably one of the few that likes Tara. I think I like Tara. She's played by by Maggie Sif, and
Yep.
really not that much after Sons of Anarchy at all. Uh, her recent one was a show called Explained. She plays herself. Movie wise, The Short History of the Long Road. The Fifth Wave, I saw maybe pieces of that, but really not. Maggie Swift has not really done too much. The actress,
Wasn't she in a show called Billionaire, Millionaire, or something along the line?
yeah, Billionaire.
Billions or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
Yeah.
and she did like like what was like one season or something on Mad Men. This is around the time
Mm-hmm.
Sons of Anarchy, I think, was getting to the end. Don't quote me on that because I bet you I'm wrong about that timeline. But she was on a series called Mad Men for a while.
Yeah. Did you, hey Taylor? Did you see Army of the Dead yet?
No.
Juice is in that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's on Netflix, I believe. Yeah, Netflix. Yeah, we're talking. That's the recent one I've seen him in.
Iron Baron. Fun fact: Charlie Hunnam was supposed to play Christian Grey in 50 Shades of Grey. What a
Yes.
dodged bullet!
What a great move by his part. Looking at that script and like, this is shit. This is so bad. Um, I don't. But he probably would have his his stardom would probably have definitely hit the high ceiling. But I respect him. He's kind of he wants to be a respected actor along the lines of the film industry. Um, but I thought, I don't know. Do you guys like those movies? I don't know.
I did not. It was one of those movies that I got drunk with and made with my
Oh,
sister. We got
good.
drunk and made fun of it.
Yeah, yeah. I love those type of movies. Sort of. Movie 43 was mine.
Oh man, that one. Somebody had that idea. Can you believe that? Somebody had an idea for movie 43, and then people paid. They shelled out money to make the movie.
Somebody had like dirt on a lot of these celebrities.
Somebody had favors
everybody
to call
just,
in. Yeah,
I just remember Hugh Jackman with the
the
balls
testicles on his face.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's so bad. Patrick Starr in season 2, Ramos told Bishop that if the gun business failed with the Mayans, that the or Mayan charters were going to depart from Mayans MC and become their own patch to take the gun deal up north. I don't remember. Honestly, do you guys remember that? Him discussing?
Yeah. When Bishop was going back and forth on revenge for what happened with the VM and with Riz being hospitalized at the time, he was doing a lot of meetings with Marcus and the kings, the other Mayan kings, and he was being advised, like, look, if this doesn't go right, we're going to have some, like, basically a secession where people are going to, like, break away from the Mayans and start their own thing, and just to have the gun business because it was that lucrative.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
We did not get confirmation that actually happened in the story, though. But what he said when he brought that up, I'm saying, yes, that did happen. He is right. But I'm saying we did not get confirmation that actually happened yet.
Okay. Just reading off some of these. I have another thought on here. So, series do have, like, TV series do have, like, that kind of one season where it's like, it was okay. I want to know what your guys' thoughts on the one, like, kind of like storyline where you're like, For me, it was always like Jax's kid and him trying to let go of Abel, and then that whole storyline. I don't know what your guys' is at some point through the series where you're just like, okay, this is dragging too long, or this is just not my cup of tea. We'll start with you, Taylor.
Oh gosh, I have to think.
Or Sandra. Sandra, do you have an idea?
I can you see the question mark on my face now? I don't know. Because to be honest, watching Sons, I didn't get that feeling that there was a storyline I didn't like. Like, I hate the Galindo storyline in Mayans. See, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have that
Yeah.
in Sans. In Sans, everything had like a little bit, but it was not dragging that it didn't make sense. Everything made sense. Whether it was like the Ireland storyline or like the whole Zobel storyline, everything was perfect timing, made sense, and everything get back together. So I don't have nothing that I say, you know what, I would have removed from the show, because I don't think even like the whole Henry Lynn and everything else, nothing for me was not part of the show completely.
I'm going to be honest. I think that it's been so long, I can't even remember my initial impression, first of all, of the show when I was watching it. So it's hard for me to think back when I was to how I felt watching each series. Sorry, not series, each season for the first time. To remember if I thought something lasted too long, but I do know having the rotating door of villains
Oh yeah.
helped.
Yeah.
And I agree with Sandra for sure that that's an issue that Mayans has, is there's not enough rotating door of like villains or whatever. And I think they intended Galindo to be that, and then they just turned around and made him I don't know, nobody important basically. So I don't know. I don't know when it comes to Sons of Anarchy. I think I would say the things that I found unbelievable that I would have criticized definitely back in the day was how much they got away with stuff, like running,
yeah.
dragging a guy in a wheelchair down the street, or, you know, open fire in like a town, you know. I definitely would have criticized that back in the day. But hey, you know, it's a fictional TV show. We do that with pretty much anything nowadays.
Oh, of course. For me, it was just him having to. He was going to put Abel in with another family. That whole situation and getting him back. That's the one thing that sticks out to me when it came to like Sons of Anarchy. That okay, this is the one thing where I was like, I don't know. The revolving villains I like, but then some of the characters in the series, like where you really, it felt like they had, whether it was the actor themselves that had to go, like like a very weird kind of demise, you know, like Gale or Hale. Say Gale or Hale.
Hail.
Hale.
Dale.
Hale. Like I really like this character, and then, boom, he's just dead. He's just dead in like the start of like the season. I was like, this is kind of odd. This is odd, but I think the actor was leaving anyway, so it was very it's very you know. Of course, we know the situation of, you know, half sack. So some of those things, I was like, it was kind of abrupt to me. But I think that's the only kind of like thing that I could remember really that I still have. Or I'm like, that could have been, you know, done a little bit better. But overall, yeah, like what Taylor said, like a lot of it though, and Sandra said, like I really enjoyed.
I'm sorry, guys. I need to go. So it was fun talking to you. It was fun talking to all the fans.
Heck yeah.
And you guys continue without me, and you're having fun.
Enjoy your day, Sandra.
All right, you have a good day,
Thanks.
Sandra.
Bye.
And Sandra is out.
And then there were two.
And then there were two. Man, like I said, abrupt. Somebody just she's gone. Just kidding. So another character, Ron Mitchell says it would have been nice for them to have T.O. when they had the sit down last season. I really like T.O. too.
I'm glad that somebody brought that up, because here's an issue that I have. And okay, the best way to say it is,
let it out, Taylor.
So they had the funeral for the Mayan that was shot by those two cops. Remember when Hope was in the woods with those two cops?
Oh yeah.
And he went to go urinate, and then the cops shot him, and then the bishop and the other Mayan kings had to figure out what they were going to do about it, and, you know, how to get revenge for him. Well, at the funeral for that Mayan, you clear as day see a Grim Bastard member. He's got the original, orange and black patches, everything. So that to me, why would you put that in there? First of all, why would you have just this random, no-name person, somebody who's not been shown before as far as the other Grim Bastards go, and then have him just show up for this one scene? That means that none of the Grim Bastards ever patched over. That means that they stayed Grim Bastards and they're still around. So I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I thought the Grim Bastards were just they're done, right? T.O. patched over. It was like they were done with the Grim Bastards. And then somebody pointed that out too in the comments right away, and then you got the forum saying listen, man, this is clearly a Grim Bastard in there. That's so many. That's more questions, and that's more what the hell is going on over there? Who is sitting at the table at this point?
Honestly, I would like to know if they have a mythology, not real mythology, but a Sons of Anarchy mythology person who keeps track of all of this stuff to advise the writing process. Because if I can't remember every single detail, if you can't remember every single detail, I mean, I highly doubt that we know for a fact Sutter doesn't remember sometimes stuff that he writes in. I couldn't expect Elgin to remember certain things about the history. I would highly advise this show, if they don't, to have somebody on whose job it is solely to keep all of these things.
You would think they would.
Just to refer back to it, just to look back and be like, oh, you know what? If I write this the way that I have it in the script right now, I can change this one little thing, because if I leave it as is, it's going to mess up what happened before. You know what I'm saying?
And it's surprisingly common for creators themselves to forget the shit they
their
put
own
in.
writing. Yeah.
Yeah, the big one is notorious one, if anybody's into anime or manga, is Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Akira Toriyama is the creator of that, and Dragon Ball has gone for years, very long time, and a lot of people are passionate fans on that, and they go, yo, what's the deal with this? This doesn't make any sense. He's like, oh, honestly, I kind of forgot. And then while I was writing the next arc, so it's unless you're I think the only one I've seen that's kind of really good at keeping everything in check is probably Vince Gilligan with Better Call Saul. But even him could slip. There's people will slip up. Sometimes I don't think they even have that the mythology kind of person to sit in that writing room. I think it's just honestly just the writers and their knowledge of the property. But sometimes you get writers who don't even know, and they're just in there to give fresh ideas, right?
Right.
So we, the fans, see it because we're constantly either rewatching it or we're really looking for that kind of stuff. While the people who are in the process of making it they have a million things on their mind, and they have a million things that are going on and what they have to do. Especially with Elgin James, if he's the showrunner and he's directing some of these episodes, this dude has a lot on his plate. So it is always good to have somebody. I would think that the studios need to do that. I'm pretty sure the MCU does that. But they have slip ups too. But I'm pretty sure they have at least somebody in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just so curious now, because T.O. is supposed to be a S.O.A. member, right? If I remember correctly, he got patched over. So I want to know what the deal is with that.
Here's what I recall. So there was discussions. The Grim Bastards they weren't doing too good. Their numbers were dissolving. Basically, they were to the point where they had a handful of full patch members left.
Yeah.
Their numbers were very low. I think now. We know now that Grim Bastards are still around because we saw one in Mayans, but bear with me. So back in Sons, when we were watching Sons, it was inferred that after T.O., their president, patched in to SAMCRO, that one of two things was going to happen. One, eventually other Grim Bastards would be eligible to take a spot. Granted, whenever a SAMCRO spot was available, they might consider a previous Bastard member to like transfer over or whatever. Or option 2 was that the Grim Bastards would just dissolve as a club completely, and they would no longer be an MC. Now in Mayans, we know that they still exist and that there was one member randomly at Medina's funeral. So, okay, why haven't we heard from Tio? Why haven't they said anything about him? I would have really honestly loved to see Tio make an appearance. Then Happy, then Chibbs. I like these characters, do not get me wrong. I need to know what happened to him. And I feel like maybe that's not as important to other people. But I really liked his character. I liked what the camaraderie was between the Bastards and the Sons and their alliance that they made. I enjoyed that part of the story.
Even when
I want follow up.
Even when Jax killed his cousin, because of like his cousin was involved with the death of Opie and stuff, you know?
Right.
And they still were cool with each other like that. Yeah, Tio is great, and I think the actor has been like, you know, he's still kind of active and talking about like Sons and stuff. It's another thing, I guess, with Mayan season 4. Just depends on where the story goes. Like if you do include, you know, the Sons heavily, maybe in the later part of the season. That's the one question I want to know. I want to know who the hell is on the table now. Who else is like, where is everybody nowadays? You know, we know what Happy, we know what Chibbs, we know what Montez. Like we didn't even know that Montez had a cousin, you know, in the as an S.O.A member. You know, we didn't know that and we don't even really see his face at all. So with T.O., like this is a character that has already been established. So you're absolutely right. If they do go that route, I want to see what's going on. I want to see what is happening over there at Charming, you know? Quill says August Marks.
August Marks.
August Marks.
He was an interesting character. I'm glad that they didn't keep it very long. You know, you got like August Marks and you got like Moses Cartwright, you know, and everything that happened with Bobby and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Bobby,
I thought that whole plot line, I think, was wrapped up in a decent amount of time.
Man, Bobby got messed up at the end though. He got so eye missing, fingers, and then just straight out gets shot, you know, point blank by August. I think August has, for me, he's memorable because of the presence. He has a great presence. Yeah. Booming voice, stylish. Like he was great. For me, he was great for like that final villain. That wrap up.
He was different. You know? He was different from Galen. He was different from Agent Stahl, you know, and that's what I appreciate about the variety of people to hate, you know. There's that. It was good. I'm tired of Lincoln Potter, to be honest with you. In Mayans, I'm over it. I've seen what he's like. I've seen what he can do. I'm over that.
That's why I'm banking for the banker to do something really cool
and become more of a character and not so much like a person who's in and out, because that happens a lot. Somebody who comes in and out.
I feel like they may be set up for him for sure for season 4, but we're gonna have to see on that one. But August, he leads. It's funny because you don't think he would leave a lasting impression, but he does. He leaves me, especially when Jax takes him out too. You know, that final ride and just, you know, cutting or getting loose ends done. So I did like August a lot, and you're right. I do appreciate the different kind of villains we got. Agent Stahl was great. She was great. I loved Agent Stahl as a villain.
She definitely made you love to hate her. It was she had, before there was Cersei Lannister, she was probably like one of those Cersei characters on television at the time. Yeah,
and then because the best thing for a villain is you want to see them comeuppance, and like
thank you. Yeah,
her comeuppance was like probably the best on one of the best on TV. You know, Opie behind her, and then
this is what she felt. Yeah,
her being fooled, tricked, great stuff. Like that was really good, and that's why it's probably one of the most memorable death scenes in the whole series for sure. Yeah. See, when Frieza, when I first watched Agent Stahl, then when I rewatch, it's Gemma or Galen. I think most hated character for sure. Hated Gemma, but played so well by Katie Seagal. That's what I said. Fostering that hate in the audience. That was Kevin who said that. Um, let's see, Gary. I have an interesting way they could use Montez. Figure a way to pin on it on Conchi. Then SOA charters will be able to help SP Fraction, Civil, and SOA War in one. I've heard that a couple times using Montez and just pinning it on the other charters.
Yeah.
What do you think, Taylor? You think that that's a possibility right there?
It's certainly a possibility. I mean, anything is possible. I mean, I'm not the one writing the show. It's up to Elgin and Sean Tretta and, you know, everyone else working on the show. So anything is possible. I won't discount anybody's theories or anything. What I have to consider is where the finale of season 3 left off, because I would hate for season 4, episode 1 to just start off with nobody at the gate. You ended with all of these guys at the gate, crashing into it with a truck, trying to get in, throwing Molotovs over the wall. It needs to pick up right there. You can't end with that and just be like, oh, everyone went home. Now we have to deal with them. It's like, that doesn't happen, first of all. So please pick up right where that left off, and we'll see how they get out of that situation, because they're essentially boxed in unless they can find a way to escape, unless they can find a way to fight back. We can deal with what happens to Montez's body and go into the SOA thing later, but we still have to pick off right where that left off.
I just think Easy's gonna find a way out of that. Because he's just a smart cookie like that, and they use that ability. So I think right now he's kind of like not in the mindset, but I feel like he'll do something. I love what Frieza said. He said Gemma used Jax as her own weapon, just like she used Clay to kill John Teller.
Yeah.
Eerie.
Yep. It was always. Can I bring this up real quick?
Go right ahead.
One of my favorite little tiny things in the show was how important the photograph was of young Gemma standing behind John. Mm-hmm. It's got this eerie ghost-like presence. The way she's got her hand, it looks like it's gently resting across his chest, but it almost has this controlling possession kind of feeling when you look at it. She clings so hard to this power.
Yeah.
By being the first lady, by being not like the first lady, but you know what I mean, by being the president's girl, right?
Would you say she's the Cersei of this show, of the Sons? She's the Cersei of it?
Essentially. I mean, look what Cersei did. There's so many parallels that you can draw. Cersei essentially had a demise in her last son's death.
She had Jaime by the balls, literally, too.
Her last son jumped to his death.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because she could not, she hated, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on her name?
Lady,
she's House Tyrell.
Yeah, Lady Martell.
Marjorie, thank you.
Marjorie,
okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while. After the last season.
We're trying to forget about it.
We are trying to forget it, so it's hard. So she really hated her so much that she, spoiler alert, but you probably, if you haven't seen it already, sorry. She blows up the sect
cathedral,
and then the cathedral, and then he, in his grief, he's like, my mom is just nuts. Like, she'll never stop. He just jumps to his death, and she caused the death of her last kid because she just could not stop.
Yeah, and it's the same with kind of like with Gemma, you know, she just couldn't stop.
She could not stop.
You know what it reminded me on that photo? It reminded me of a Grim Reaper. Just hanging over there in the background. Mm-hmm. Like death. Your time is. She is death.
Thank you. Yes, that's what I thought when I saw it.
Dan's got those wits right there. He sees a little bit. He sees what's going on.
Now, if you wanted to go crazy deep, I'm not saying I fully believe this, but I did see some. Maybe there was Sutter. you know how crazy Sutter is when he writes. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
this
He
is
gives
this is
so
a
much symbolism and so much
Shakespearean
hidden things,
piece. Yes.
influences. So since we just talked about Gemma having this Reaper-esque vibe about her, whenever you see the homeless lady, it's almost like that
Oh yeah.
life and death, this holy, unholy kind of tug of war that's happening with her.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And maybe that's probably the reason that Jax can see her too, is because in some cases, Jax is always running around cleaning up after Gemma or causing his own turmoil, doing the same thing that Gemma's doing a little bit. You know, there's always this like good and evil battle that's happening, right and wrong.
Well, it's the funny thing is like this series is all about also family, brotherhood, you know, going against the enemy. But sometimes the enemy is your family and your brotherhood that causes your downfall, you know, and the situations you're in. So like it's an insane. I mean, what this was for? This was supposed to be based on what? Hamlet, I believe. Was it Hamlet?
I mean, that's what he says. I mean,
or inspired at least.
Inspired, yeah.
I mean, you see so much revenge storylines throughout the whole seasons and stuff. Going back to John and
sorry to interrupt again. There's a tad bit of Macbeth in there as well.
Yes,
just a little bit.
And then I would even say a little bit of Edgar Allan Poe.
A lot of influence.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of dark. For me, Sutter is kind of like me. He likes and he appreciates the realistic kind of dark side of life and like the life and death aspect. The life and death aspect is always an interesting like idea or like, you know, how the world works, what causes death, what causes life. The certain scenarios that happen in a daily basis, the darkness of it all. Sometimes a little bit of the darkness becomes a little bit of the beauty of it. Like we're watching a show with violence, killings, relationships being just dismantled, but yet there's always like a beauty towards it. Of like, especially towards the very end, you know, Jax's death. There's always a beauty to it because it's kind of like that's how his dad died, right? He's going. Right. He even says like, or there's an idea that John knew that his bike was jacked up, or John just went to his death because
willingly, and that was a point of contention between a lot of the fans. It was like, was it suicide? Was it murder? Was it suicide? Was it murder? And it was essentially both. It was him knowing they were trying because they've already attempted and failed. Yeah. He already knew what they were trying to do, and he basically just rode into it willingly.
And that's what Jax does. He did everything he needed to do, and he's riding into, you know, he's riding into it. He's riding into his demise. Right. So, the Gemma. So Gemma and John, I would love to see. I would love to see that first 9 series at some point.
Me too. I still do.
I want to see the original members. I want to see John's ideology. I think John, whatever, all the stuff we were given in Sons of Anarchy of who he was as a man, I want to see that. I want to see that, and the counter of that, of young Gemma.
Me too.
And then of course Clay. Like because Clay is a big factor in that whole. Clay is a big factor of the club.
I also want to see how John's outlook on life, his ideology, what it meant to him at that time, like in that particular era. We're doing like a trip through time, basically. If they do decide to make the first 9, we'd be going back in time quite a bit. And the environment that was the 60s, the 70s, going up to Jax's birth. I mean, this was a really interesting time for America in general. Yeah. So I would like to see how the forming of his club and his ideas, what that meant in that particular time. Because when Jax is going through the manuscript, you know, I think other characters in passing make comments about JT and how he was a dreamer and like this and that and the third. Well, what he was going through, what he was seeing at the time influenced greatly his opinions and his ideas. So I want to see that. I want to see that influence on him.
There had to be a little bit of darkness in JT.
Definitely.
I
Of
want to
course
see.
there
I
was.
definitely want, because this is like, to me, when I hear about him, I'm thinking hippie, sort of.
Yes. Yeah.
So a little bit,
Kind of
a very
little bit of
calm, cool, collective guy.
disdain towards the government too,
Yeah, but I know what we would probably see in First Nine is a little bit of that kind of like Jax, softer side, but then has that inner rage too. So
Sure.
I would love to see that. And then the period piece, like you said it, like that's what I think of when I think of First Nine. Because think
Yes.
about it. I mean, this is really outlaw shit. I mean, think about the Hell's Angels back in that day. I believe the movie Easy Rider was made. That kind of like so there was a lot of like kind of like that kind of lifestyle in there. It was an interesting lifestyle in there around
Yeah.
that period. So I want to see that. I want to see that with these First Nine, these members, how it was formed, the different kind of thoughts and different kind of characters and interactions. I want to see it. I would love to see it now at this point. Right after Mayans, we'll see if we get it.
Rico says, to be
Yeah.
honest, the way people have reacted to Mayans so far has me pretty convinced we may not get these shows.
I think we talked about this a little bit too in some of our casts. I think we could. I think there's a good possibility because I think the network is smart and knows that people want to see maybe not necessarily
Yeah.
Mayans, but if you slap Sons of Anarchy in the title,
Yes.
that's going to draw more views, more attention. It's going to be a big buzz, actually. If you think
Yeah.
about it, it's going to be a big buzz, not only for the fandom, but probably in media in general. And especially if you put it on streaming, especially
Yes.
if you promote it.
If it was like a weekly release on streaming, totally.
Do you think they need to get a big time actor to play JT or at least somebody in these
Medium caliber.
Yeah, a name, a name that's going to be
Up and coming, has done a couple great things that people remember him from. You know what I mean? So I'll tell you, Rico, real quick, about your comment. I think if Mayans, I mean, we've talked about it in all of our Mayans casts. The ratings have not been superb.
No.
It's true, we are getting a season 4, but if they end Mayans about a season 5, season 6-ish total run, I don't put it past FX to want to hold on to the property, the copyright that is this universe. And like you said already, Dan, you slap Sons of Anarchy on it. Everyone wanted First Nine. Everyone still wants First Nine. The buzz around Mayans when it was up and coming, when they were announcing casting, when they were announcing, hey, look, the first pilot is now being shot, everyone was like, I don't want to say everyone. I'll take that back. I don't want to be mean.
Most.
A lot of people. A lot of people were very disappointed that it wasn't First Nine, that it wasn't Abel and Thomas. There was a select few that never wanted, they didn't care, basically, to be honest, about the Mayans to begin with. So I know that the executives have this in the back of their mind, that there's already a set audience invested in the possibility. Just think about all of the clickbait articles that come up every year. Every single year, there's 2, 3, 4 clickbait articles that all roll out, and it's based off of something Kurt Sutter tweeted, or or they're rehashed and rewritten articles of stuff from ever ago when they're like, he said he wanted to make the First Nine. First Nine is coming, you guys, and he's definitely making it. And I'm like, there is no greenlit pilot for this show. There is no casting. There is no filming being done. And but it hypes everybody up.
At that point, though, there was that's a great point, because recently, Kurt Sutter, they asked him the question like, "Hey, is First Nine or any of these other spinoffs is it even possible?" He's like, "Oh, it's not looking really good. It's not looking."
Because he didn't own the property since he got fired from.
Yeah, like it doesn't. That for me, it's the studio. It's the studio of just like, is there a way to make more money off this?
Yes. How far can we get with this property? And
all about money.
If they do a test group and the test group comes back positive, that they would have more interest in a first 9, they would probably do a miniseries like Sutter originally planned. Now, I can't be the one to say for sure if they'll make amends with Sutter and if he'll be able to come back and head that show, or if it's going to be given to somebody else who's familiar with the show, who's familiar with the mythology, and, you know, they just basically bring on a decent writer to do, let's say, 10 episodes that are about an hour a piece, hour and a half a piece, perhaps.
Yeah.
For a mini series, I think that would be okay. But I wouldn't put it past the property owners to not take advantage of the fact that there is a market there for that.
Yeah, they're already missing out on the merchandise. I think they need to start. But if
there's a lot of mistakes that have been made, and you and I have talked about this a lot when it comes to merchandising and even just advertising for the show. They've really dropped the ball on it.
Just imagine a fresh start though, and they do a first 9, and then they really take hold of the merchandise sales on that. I think first 9 is more of a. Well, I think in my world, I think Mayans can be a profitable merchandise realm. But first 9, I think, would be like them going all in on Funko Pops, shirts, anything they could do to really sell this show. Because I think first 9 would be a good sell, honestly. Ron Mitchell says, in a bike life culture, Clay would have been killed if the club knew he was sleeping with Gemma while JT was alive. Yeah, that's another, like I said, that's another aspect I would like to see in first 9 is just that, you know, those 3 heads, those three characters really butting heads and just really the relationships, you know, because I think Clay and JT at one point were good friends. Maybe.
Not in the beginning, it went downhill very fast.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? Let me ask you a question real quick, Taylor. What did you think about so we're talking about JT and Gemma, and like when you brought up the photograph, I instantly remember the scene where Tara goes behind Jax, and then it's like a mirror kind of reflection, you know, Gemma's looking at this. What did you think about that relationship? Did you like Tara? Did you like Tara and Jax, or were you kind of like, I know a lot of people did not like that Tara at all, or even the relationship itself?
She was okay. Tara, okay, so for the one section of that question, Tara was okay in my opinion. She definitely wasn't my favorite. There was a lot of, the character made a lot of mistakes as well. I know everyone else feels like she isn't likable. I feel like Emily is more dislikable than Tara is, but that's so far in that show. But anyway, so when they did the mirror scene of Tara standing behind Jax, and you see Gemma looking on and kind of having like this concerned look. So I had a couple of feelings when I saw that. The first feeling was Gemma is seeing her position being taken, that her power that she's held for decades is slipping away now that and here's the thing, she wanted her son to take up the presidency. She didn't want Tara to be the one who's whispering in his ear. Yeah. She still wanted to be in control, and Tara was edging in on that, and that was a problem for her. The second thing that I noticed was the doom on Jax. So I felt like Jax and Tara were destined to fail, just like JT and Gemma failed.
I always go back to that one point where Jax had a shot of just living somewhat of a normal life, you know, going away with Tara and the kids. And of course, it didn't happen because it's a show, and you know it's not going to happen. The doom of that relationship was always kind of, I guess it was so rocky throughout the whole series. But man, the way that Tara died from Gemma's hand, it was so brutal. Even Juice, when Juice confesses to Jax, he even's like, dude, that like it was so bad and brutal, and Gemma was on the floor full of blood, you know. I like Tara. I really didn't. I'm okay with how she went out. I think that was one of the most brutal deaths. It was the death where I was like, I would have never even thought of that. how that all would go down, the
Right.
Gemma and Tara fight. Like you knew these two always clashed, but the way how that whole scene was and how it went down, it's just absolutely like that. That was probably one of the most memorable deaths. I do like Wendy a little bit more because I think Wendy had a better arc. She actually had a great arc in her character. I like the fact that she took the kids at the end,
Yeah.
but I do appreciate Tara, and I did think that I think the two actors had pretty
Yeah.
good chemistry together.
If I could say one thing, it would be, I wish they didn't disappear Wendy so frequently. They did bring her in. She would leave. She would come back. She would leave. She would come back. And then, obviously at the end, I am glad that she was able to get not only get herself right, but to get herself right with her son, Abel. Considering how the first episode started out, her being a drug addict and almost killing Abel, and and then her taking Tara's son as her own, Thomas.
I like
as
that.
well. Yeah, I did like that. It was a good coming of full circle for her, but I just wish that they just didn't disappear her like that.
I like that a lot because Tara took her son as
Yes.
her own. So that was for full circle too.
Considering how much rivalry they had with each other and the fighting over Jax, I did appreciate that eventually the women had to do what mothers do and do what's best for a child, basically. I mean, I know it's not my son, but I'll love him and take care of him as if he's my son. In your memory now that you're gone, and that's what Wendy did for Tara. It was the only thing she could do for her.
Yeah.
And for Jax at the same time was to take care of Thomas.
That was such good writing on that part.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, because Tara was the one that was, with that child when, with Abel, when he had that, all those problems in the very beginning. So she was being a mother to her, like in the very beginning, or a mother to him, like in the very beginning. Was it Abel or Thomas? I can't remember. So that was, that's some good writing because technically she has been there. Tara has been there for kind of from day one. So I really appreciate it. It's so weird too. I always go back to this. I find it weird that Jax, that's his love of his life basically is Tara. But at the end he, everything's going to go to this, to the finale where he, he goes into the semi, but then he has that one moment with Wendy, and because he loved both of them, I think, and I don't know. I just go back to that scene with. I like that scene where it's kind of closure too of their relationship, with him and Wendy, and then him also trusting Wendy, now fully trusting, because in the beginning he didn't really trust her. But now fully trusting Wendy to do what she needs to do to be to take the kids and stuff. And I did, what's funny is, we talk about Wendy. I actually really like the relationship that she had with Nero. Nero is another character. Jimmy Smits, really such a good choice to bring him into the show. I love Jimmy Smits. I think he's a great actor.
Yeah.
Nero is another character that I actually, I didn't think I was going to enjoy as much, but I actually, because of Jimmy Smits and then overall just how that character is pretty much Jimmy. Like I really enjoyed the hell out of that character in the series as well.
For sure.
Let's see.
We'll have to grab a couple of final comments before I have to go.
Let's see. You got any comments you want to read off of? Joined in. Did you say there was a vote to get? No, Joe. Me and Sandra were talking about, and then Taylor we were talking about how it would have been that was a big mistake not having showcased the vote to kick Coco out at the table. We need more table scenes.
Iron Baron goes, Nero's the stepdad of Princess Leia. Yeah, I remember him from the prequel movies.
Yeah, he is, and then he technically he gets blown up.
Yeah.
In A New Hope. Let's see. Rico. Yes, the character. Well, let's address it. So Rico De Niro says too many comparisons to a show over 12 years old. This show is really just starting to find its feet. I think he's talking about Mayans, and we've talked. It's going back and seeing some of the because I've rewatched Sons maybe 3 times, and going back to see some of the clips. The shows are really. I mean, look at the different kind of eras. Sons was like how many years ago? Mayans is now. Definitely, what I noticed is just the production value. I think Mayans has a great fan. You don't know how many times I said in this season how the lighting, the production looks amazing. The first episode looked like a damn movie. It was so good. Some of these episodes.
We haven't said all only bad things about Mayans. We just finished doing 10 casts on the newest season of Mayans, and I had plenty of good things to say. I also had a couple of criticisms for them as well when we did every episode. We weren't around to do all of the episodes of Sons of Anarchy back in the day. We're here now, and that's what this cast is about, is just to sit and just talk about Sons of Anarchy as a series.
Yeah, I mean, because they're two different. For me now, I feel like they're going. Mayans is fighting definitely their footing. So hopefully season 4 they find a little bit more.
Yeah, I love the show. I'm not disliking the show. I had an entire channel dedicated just to that particular show. So I think that my love for the show is very apparent. But sometimes I like to talk about Sons of Anarchy.
It's interesting because I think also like a lot of people will divide themselves between the show and stuff is because I don't think that this doesn't become super big of an issue, I guess. If it wasn't a kind of like a spin-off that's technically a sequel, right? Because it's not before, it's not like freaking 30 years like Star Wars down the line. It's literally like kind of like we still have Marcus Alvarez, we still have characters. So it's interesting because they want, it's technically you still see some of these characters in Sons of Anarchy, but I think the Mayans last season they're doing a good job of finally fighting their footing. Finally, you feel like they're kind of like their own different. It's a different own kind of show, and I do look forward to a lot of the like the banker. I look forward to see what happens there. I look forward to what the hell's hopefully, like you said, Taylor, that they go right to them barging in. I want to see how they get out of that jam. And then also it really, me and Sandra talked about it on our cast, like Marcus, where does Marcus go from here, and Nestor. Okay, a couple more and that's it, guys. Angie, I love Juice and Tig. Tig really, some of the shit he does, but I still enjoy that character. Oh, you know what? Since we are talking, that's very true. Kurt Sutter was Otto in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
What do you think about his performance?
He, first of all, I did not know until way into later seasons that was Kurt Sutter. Because I saw the name, that he was like, executive producer, written by Kurt Sutter. I had no idea that Otto was played by him until way later. So that was kind of a surprise for me. But even during the time that I did not know that fact, I thought he was an interesting character. I thought he had a really, his story was definitely a tragedy for sure.
Sutter did a good job.
Yeah, he did.
Sutter did a good, he made Otto not really speak a lot because, Sutter's not like the well-trained. He did good he made that character unique and mysterious a little bit. Every time Otto came onto the picture, I actually really was just like, I wanted to know more. I wanted to see what this guy was going to do. And he has some brutal scenes too.
He does. And I have to say this, even though we only saw Lenny the pimp a few times, I have to say when I did see Lenny and when I saw Otto, I got this sense of, and you kind of do whenever you see Piney talk about the past and stuff like that, you get an idea of what old SAMCRO must have been like. Because when we're watching the show, we're watching the current SAMCRO, the new SAMCRO. But when you see the OGs, like the OG members and some of the older, I know Otto Delaney is not a First Nine member, but there's, I don't know, there's like this old feeling of what the club must have been like.
Especially Piney. You're right. Piney, like really, he's got his little thing in his nose and stuff. Um, 'cause I don't know. Just seems going back and refreshing my memory. I'm like, damn, Piney was such a good character. And then when he gets when he tries to, because he tries to instill, he's trying to show Jax, right? He's trying to instill that a little bit of Jax, and then Clay comes and he just murders him. But I do get the sense of like that old time, like what we said, like outlaw shit. It's outlaw shit. It's the kind of stuff that I think people do miss. And it's very. That's why we do want to see like eventually in the future of First Nine, because maybe I think they could capture that. I think they can capture that. It's going to be a little different since the period's going to be different. The 60s, or it's just that tone's going to be different. But no, I agree. I absolutely agree. And then of course Otto biting off his tongue, man. Yeah,
that was pretty brutal. Yeah, for sure.
That was a pretty crazy scene.
I want to know, just quick tangent here, what that process was like when he was explaining that to everybody else who was working on the show. Like, I'm gonna need this bloody tongue prosthetic, and we're gonna like throw it at the throw it out the window and stuff. I bet that was an interesting discussion to have.
Do you have one more comment you want to read? I didn't realize there's a whole lot of comments here. They just build up right there. You have one you want to do, Taylor, and then probably get out of here. Thank you guys for listening too. Thank you guys for commenting. Sorry we didn't get to all of them. I mean, you guys absolutely just I did not realize how much you guys commented on here.
Yeah, so I see a couple about like season 3 and like a couple storylines dragging out for sure. Yeah, when you rewatch, you definitely notice that. I can't remember my initial impression, so I won't talk about my initial impression. But I think that's why the 10 episode thing kind of works. I think there's less room for filler. But then again, I still see people who would like to have a lot of episodes in their seasons. For some people, 12, 10, 13 is good. And some people would prefer less, and some people would prefer more. And there's a lot of opinions on the length and stuff like that. I will not be angry whenever I see the scenes, like for example, one of my favorite scenes is between Juice and Tig, and I love that conversation that they're having together when you can see Chibbs just trying to be a mentor to Juice, and those are scenes that I'm glad played out and were not just left on the cutting room floor, for example, just to save time or to make it shorter, because I feel like those are very valuable.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. That builds more too. That builds more of like who you get to know more of what these characters are feeling. They're people. And I think that nowadays media, I think they are going towards the lesser episodes, unless you're like, I guess they're going towards Netflix is doing it, HBO is doing it. All these streaming platforms they're limiting the episode count, but they're also giving you like an hour or sometimes even an hour and a half worth of time of these episodes, which is what you could do. You could do if on a 10 episode base, or even maybe sometimes an 8 if you really tighten it up. Yeah. But you're right, Taylor. You still got to put those character moments though, where if it's just even a conversation between the two, and it's not going to do majorly like crazy things in the story, but it's going to like convey like this situation, these talks are going to, you kind of need it sometimes. You kind of need it so you could be more immersed in the world that you're building. So,
I agree real quick with Rico right here. Binge watching all of the episodes keeps the story tight instead of every week, like a week to week basis. Yeah. And I think that's where, in retrospect, it's hard for me to remember my first feelings. But now whenever we sit down and we do a rewatch, we have the one season in its entirety right there. So we can remember from start to finish in any particular season what's going on, because as soon as one episode ends, you don't have to wait a week for it to pick back up where it left off. The next episode starts playing in like 30 seconds. So, you get to see all of that stuff threaded together. And it feels different when you're able to binge something versus watch week to week.
For me, personally, though, I do like my Daredevil, my Jessica Jones. When they were on, I loved the binge watch. I was like, okay, this is even when Breaking Bad was on Netflix and season 5 was about to end, I was able to binge all the way to season 4. But sometimes I like shows where, like Mayans, I actually like it where I'm just kind of waiting a week because there's something to wait for. Loki's going to be coming up, so it was like WandaVision. Where I kind of liked waiting a week because I'm probably a little bit old school like that, where I do like to sometimes for some shows I would like to wait and think about, process what I watched the episode, and then just look forward to the next episode. You want them to be bangers, so you're super excited for the next episode. Sometimes that's not how it goes. You're like, it's all right. I'll wait till the next episode. But I'm a little old school like that, where yes, I love my binging, but then sometimes I love to have that
anticipation.
That wait. It's kind of like when they're going to release a big time blockbuster movie that I really want to watch, and they give you the date. You're like, oh, I can't wait, and then you watch it. It's amazing. You're like, oh, I can't wait for the sequel. You're right. The anticipation builds your thought process. You're really thinking about what you just saw. And just like you're kind of wondering what's going to be happening next.
Yeah.
One more, because this is a really good one.
And then we gotta get going.
And then we gotta go. I wanted to talk about this earlier, but we'll finish it off right here. Quill says, better SAMCRO president, Jax or Clay?
Oh my God. I feel like nobody's gonna like my answer.
It's a good question. I'm what is it, Taylor? What is that answer?
I'm going to say neither. Neither. Both made very bad mistakes. At times, both made decisions that were not in the best interest of the entire MC. And when I mean the entire MC, I mean every single individual who is supposed to be your brother. I think that it was... This MC was cursed from its founding. I think Clay is slightly worse than Jax, but I would say both of them were not very good presidents in terms of what it takes to be a president and all that. There was a lot of self-serving interest happening.
Yeah.
I think when I saw Chibbs for the first time in the episode where he's named president, I felt very heartwarmed by that, because I did feel like he did fit that role very well. The big hope. Yeah. I did feel like Chibbs didn't have that piece of him that Clay and Jax had to cause the turmoil.
Yeah. The power hungry stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even Jax had moments where he like him and Clay disagreed on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
A lot of shit. You know what? I actually like that answer, Taylor, a lot, because you're absolutely. They had moments where they were great. They made sense for the club, but then they had a lot of moments where it was like the downfall. Like, look at the club members who are still, like, a lot of their members are dead. A lot of their members are dead. They really, like, you're right. This club from JT, even JT knew that this thing is just going to be just always turmoil. And then when you talk about Chibbs, that's why I really want to see, Chibbs as president. I really want to see how this guy would be so different than Clay and Jax, because I think he would. Out of the two, if it came to power wise,
yeah,
I think I would side a little bit with Clay. Power, like strength wise, but then again, Jax, like I said, they both have their moment. Like Jax has some epic moments, but I think I might.
Yeah, and then then Clay was also making some moves that were making money, where they,
Yeah.
and here's the thing: there was always this butting heads between the two,
Yeah.
and this competition. And I just saw somewhere, yeah, Joe says when there's a power struggle, there's going to be unfocused decisions, and
Yeah.
that's why Chibbs was that outlier. Yes, he was a full patch member, but his closeness, he was an outsider, basically. He came from across the pond,
Mhm.
and was helping out with the connections with the gun running business. But Jax and Clay were too close to the ghost that was JT, and there was too
Yeah.
much memories. There was too much unlaid, like emotions and things from the past that had just never been able to be let go.
And they came
And
out. They came out of
they
the
always
woodwork.
came out. They always
Yeah.
did, didn't they?
Yeah, and you know what? It's because I really want to see Chibbs as president, because you could see it in his decision making when it comes to voting at the table, and how kind of like clear he is mindset wise. And then look at when he had the summit meeting with the Mayans. Fucking guys, fucking Mexicans, just like
Yeah.
he's trying to do the best. I think he's gonna be he's a better decision maker. And you're right, him not being tied to JT, it's just a clearer head. It's just not all this other baggage.
There's not I don't get the sense of self-benefit
Yeah,
that I got from the other two.
and he loves his brothers.
Yes.
You saw that throughout Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
I will say this though, Jax lasted as president not very long.
No.
Clay lasted for a very long time. So I'm just like, how the hell did he make it work for that? Even though he was still at war with Mayans, but he lasted he lasted until almost he couldn't ride no more. So if that's telling you something, I think Clay a little bit more. I think Clay a little bit more than Jax. But then again, like, it's crazy how Gemma didn't mess up. Gemma did, but it took that long for Clay to get his demise. Gemma really was the factor of Jax's demise too. So yeah, I would love to see Chibbs though. I would love to see Chibbs and see how he operates, but we'll see in the future. I want to thank everybody for commenting. I'm sorry we didn't get to everything. There's a lot of comments here. We'll probably do another S.O.A talk in the future for sure. We got something planned. We'll announce it later on. So yeah, thank you guys. I know everybody loves Sons of Anarchy. We love Sons of Anarchy. We can't wait for Mayans season 4. Great talk. Great. We got into a little bit here and there. I know we didn't cover Tig a lot, Juice a lot, Opie a lot, but in the future we will. We're almost at 2 hours, so
we tried to let you guys in the chat mostly just dictate the topics per se.
Yeah.
So when we read your comments or answer questions, that's usually where the topics of the conversation go. So if there's a possibility down the road that we'll be able to talk about more things in the past, but
maybe another character spotlight, something like that, or just another S.O.A talk, and we'll dive into more of the other characters and stuff. So I want to thank Sandra, who was here for an hour. She had to go run and do something. She always a pleasure to have her and have her thoughts on the whole series as well. I want to thank you, Taylor, for joining me once again for this S.O.A talk. And then, we'll see what happens. We'll see some bright things in the future. Am I right?
Yes, that's true. And thank you for having me. And thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk more. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button so we get some momentum on the channel. Push the bell icon to get notified for all the cast, all the videos. I have not only Sons of Anarchy and Mayans reviews and videos. I also have movie reviews. I also have TV reviews, anime reviews, you name it. I got it. I'll be reviewing. My next review will be The Conjuring. We are both looking forward to seeing that movie. Maybe we'll do a cast of The Conjuring. Who knows? I'm looking forward to that film. So if you guys like horror, A lot of horror movies coming out.
Yeah, it seems so.
It's not even October yet. So we'll see. We'll see, I'll be posting that too. So thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Taylor. I'm Dan Man, aka Daniel's son.